Hi, and welcome to Business Unusual. I'm Liz Whitehead, and I'm here with Rhonda Jackson. So,
Hi, Liz.
hi, thanks so much for joining me. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your company.
So my company is Decor Interior Design. My name is Ronda Jackson. I'm the founder and the owner, and we design, furnish, and maintain commercial spaces.
Great. So, before we get into what's going on now, I like to ask people what other crises have they been through with their business or otherwise that they learned from? So, have the recession, 9/11, any other business crises that you faced?
So we were definitely directly impacted by the most recent home crisis, right? The last recession. I call it 2000 and oh no. Uh, So in 2000, oh no. And at that time, I was a boutique residential interior design firm. So similar services that we're offering now in a commercial environment is what we did for homeowners. And obviously that market quickly, came to a screeching halt. And I had to figure out, who else could utilize our services. And that's when we got into commercial and federal contracting. So I have this little notion that when money, leaves us, as regular consumers, it floats up and tends to flow back up to the federal government.
Wow, and that's certainly been the case now. So,
Yes,
so what are the lessons you learned? It sounds like you learned a few lessons from
very
2000.
much so. Yeah, from 2000. Oh no, yeah. So I guess the biggest lesson was to diversify my client base. So whether it's good times or bad times, markets within themselves, even in a good economy, tend to fluctuate. Suppliers, manufacturing, the prices of oil and gas. So to be able to diversify my client base would allow me to kind of steadily, manage ebb and flow of market conditions and economic crises.
Okay.
That was the biggest lesson. And then the other lesson was, which is one of the things that I did, I guess, through the COVID-19 crisis, is to really figure out who your network is and reach out. I think with the silos, with the shelter in place, a lot of times that we want to kind of, go introvert and go in type, but that's the best time to reach out, see who's doing what and how everyone else is doing. And if nothing else, for that human connectivity. But then there's also information being disseminated so fast, you as an individual can't process it fast enough. So to get the support of your business community is really, really important.
That's so true. I've been saying what everybody needs is cash, community, and connections.
I
So,
like that. Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's like, and a lot of that, it's helpful. I think we're seeing a lot of the lessons that we always hear, right? You're a business owner, I'm a business owner. We go to these events and they say things like diversify your client base, know your bankers and your lawyers, know them personally, don't have them just be someone that's a phone number. And I think we're seeing a lot of those lessons play out now. The people that knew their bankers got the loans, the people who diversified their client base, the federal government still does have money. So
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
But it's important to just and be able to recognize that in your business before the crises. So I have this manual that I'm writing now, and it's called the This SHIT Will Never Happen to Me Again manual. And in there are all of the things that you and I are talking about, and then also some of the community lesson learned that I found out. So one of the things that really became very interesting to me are the relationships that you thought were valuable. Some of and I'm going to use banking as an example, some of the larger banks weren't as sensitive to my needs as a small business, whereas some of the community banks, tend to be a little bit more supportive in times like this. So one of the things that I want to address in my business is to look at, more community-based relationships instead of just big box.
Yep. I've heard that over and over again too.
Mm-hmm.
The community banks were really, a little bit faster, a little bit easier to deal with.
Yes.
And maybe it's a question of diversifying your banking too, because if you have an international business, a small community bank isn't going to work, but keeping those
True.
connections
Yes.
is helpful. Yeah, I was talking to a business owner that said, I do business all over the world. Like there's no ATMs for my community bank in Singapore.
Oh, well, yeah.
I
Okay,
can't,
well, that.
so it's like maybe you have to diversify that too, just keep those networks open. That's really cool.
I think so. I think so. One of the things, so I was recently appointed to the Small Business Commission for the City of LA by Mayor Garcetti.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Thank you. So just even a personal passion of mine is connecting with business owners, finding out where the needs are. And one of my immediate responses was every time I found a piece of information, I would text it or I would, email it to someone. And I was like, I'm never going to reach everybody timely enough to do it this way. So one of the things that I did is I started a YouTube channel to be able to interview some of the resources that are available and be able to, disseminate that information on a more global, on a more international scale on how, their businesses can be helped.
That's great. So you've got a manual, you've got the YouTube channel. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. And that's the thing. I didn't even know about the manual and the YouTube channel. So I'm so glad to connect with, to get that out to the people that I'm talking with. I send out a newsletter monthly, and it's always, it's exactly like you say, I have all these groups, my WPO group, my group of WeBank people, my clients.
Yes.
And, it's just great to have one way to just get the word out. So that's fantastic.
To share. And kudos to you for sharing this way. This is a beautiful format, Liz. Really it is.
Thank you. Thanks.
Very well.
Yeah, I like it. A couple of people have been like, you should start a podcast. And I was like, I don't know. It seems like you need equipment and you need a lot of know-how. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to start one.
I think so.
Yeah.
She's like, check mark, done.
Yeah, I guess I did it. Yeah, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I was on in a part of this event yesterday, and Barbara Corcoran spoke to the group, which was really amazing. Yeah, and have you heard her speak before outside of Shark Tank?
Yes, outside of Shark Tank. Yes.
Yeah, and she's just so authentic and warm. But that's what she said. She's like, don't wait. If you're thinking about doing something, don't wait until things go back to normal, because we have no idea when that is or what that's going to look like.
Yeah. And just think about the evolution as a business, I'll speak specifically, even as a mom, right? The evolution of managing your family, your household, their expectation. So now the evolution of managing not only your expectations, but that of your employees. Even if you started or, I'll wait till June 1 or whatever, things are going to be so different between now and June 1. You can't plan for that. So you almost have to you have to kind of roll down the hill, right? You have to be part of that snowball in order to build up the momentum to have any impact at the bottom of the hill. So I think she's very right in saying that. Yeah. Very right.
That's great. It's a good way to think about it. The momentum. You got to build that momentum now, so you're not starting from a cold start.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, so I got your email about what your business is doing, because you do interior design. And I love talking to businesses that have sort of pivoted in this space, because you wouldn't normally think, okay, I'm going back to work, I need to talk to my interior designer. But tell me about some of the solutions that you're coming up with.
But you do need to talk to your interior designer. So the mandate, or depending on where you're located, the mandate for social distancing in offices, restaurants, workplaces, and in a lot of public spaces is going to require the need for a space planner or an interior designer to help you. I think the thing that we're going to do best is translate your brand mission into a customer experience. And not everyone is doing that with blue tape on the floor and stand here signs. That kind of isn't as authentic and warm and fuzzy as a lot of the brands today have built up, themselves to go to something so cold and institutional. So to help with that transition, one of the things that we're doing at Decor is we're helping, tell us where your goal is. Has your brand mission changed? Do you have momentum in a new direction? Have you as a company pivoted? And then delivering to them what that in a space plan from where the employees work and sit, where they receive guests, at some sort of a welcome or lobby area, and what that customer experience is like, both employee centric and, externally as well.
That's great. Yeah, I think we've all, we've been to the grocery store, so we know what that looks like. But yeah, I mean, just even imagining what it would be like to go into, a client's office, or having them come to mine. What do I want them to see? What does that look like?
Exactly. And then also too, from an employee safety and sense of security, them feeling like, so part of the back to work program, it's the space planning, it's the cultural adjustment, it's the change management, but it's also the sanitation and disinfecting component of it that we would come in and do. So, whether things need to be partitioned off for the time being because, the spacing between each employee has to be, so far apart. But also, when's the last time that stapler was touched or that, water fountain was, disinfected properly. So just mitigating any type of risk or discomfort that an employee would feel transitioning back into that workplace as well.
Yeah. Do you see any particular industries that are going to need this more than others?
Well, there are industries. So, okay, I'll take restaurants, for example. So you get paid by the square foot, by how many plates and butts you can get in the seats. And so to ask a restaurant owner to, without raising their prices astronomically, to go down to 2/3 of their occupancy, over a course of time, I mean, that's a huge revenue hit. And, so, what do menus look like? Is there more outdoor space that can be, maximized for a specific time? Do they do more, maybe an Italian style counter seating, So, how do we evolve? But again, that also goes back to what that company's brand, looks like. Can it be tapas and finger foods, or, does it have to be that sit down, type establishment? Call centers, places where, they're answering the 800 calls. Now do we look at voice over IP and, remote instances where those things can be handled and not, people 2 feet apart from each other, to deliver those services.
Great. It's really helpful for people thinking about getting back to work, because you and I are both part of the WeBank network.
Yes.
And I mentioned to you on the happy hour call we had that was really the hot topic. Not only making employees feel safe, making customers align with your brand, but also mitigating any risk you have as an employer for bringing people in.
Yeah, and it's twofold. So you have risk as an employer for when they come into the workplace, and then there's also the risk if you're asking an employee to work from home and utilize their own, desk and equipment, and is that equipment ergonomic, and do they have the right desk chair, to sit for 8 hours? So the responsibility now is extended, and it's in a remote place where, the employer doesn't really have the direct control, but should have some influence and should at least be prepared to supply an employee what they need, to work ergonomically as well. Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point. I did a little informal poll for a client about like, what was one thing you wish you had at your home office? And everybody said either their stand-up desk, their chair, it wasn't like, oh, I miss all the copier paper. It's easy. It was like major, I needed enough space for 2 monitors because I can't work at the time. So that's really interesting. Do you help corporations and companies work with their employees from home too?
We could. I mean, this is a new opportunity, and that was more, the pivot wasn't so much to take a new, direction. We had to broaden our view, and I don't know, most people's, square footage or homes that they have available, do they have a 10 by 10 space that we could outfit similar, to the way that you would a work cubicle, or is this some kind of, not makeshift, but, compromise space, to create that healthy work environment. So at the end of the day, everybody, they want to be productive, they want to be happy, and, they got to be healthy.
Yep. Yeah, you mentioned at the beginning of the call that your gratitude check was healthy and happy. What are some of the things? I mean, there's obviously a lot of things we'd like to see go away after this, starting with the virus itself. But
I was about to say one.
What are some of the things that you hope stick? Like, is there anything that you hope actually sticks around after this?
Mm-hmm. Personally, being raised by OCD parents, I don't mind the oversensitivity to cleanliness and germs. That's a very familiar space for me. So the concern or sentiment for public safety, that I would love to, at this degree, I would love to see that stick. Street cleanings, park benches, things that could use a little bit, more attention around the different neighborhoods and cities that we live in, that I would definitely love to see stick. Also the compassion for our employees, the sense that, I mean, there are not too many things in the world that we could name that touched everybody. There is no, my dog is impacted. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
this is global. So to still the humanity of this situation, I hope that sticks, and the compassion that people actually have for, you know, checking on. I mean, I'm sure you did it. You text people that you haven't texted in years. How are you doing? Are you okay? You know, that sense of humanity, I hope that stays.
Yeah, me too. Me
Mhm.
too. Talking about the OCD and the cleanliness, one of my first interviews was with a woman whose business is in New York. And she said, who even knew the MTA had disinfectant? Like, I didn't even know they knew how to use it. And now I'm not going to go back on a filthy subway like it was.
No.
And I think part of that does stem from like, oh, we actually have this elevated sense of keeping everybody safe and healthy.
Yes.
That's a good thing. I think you're absolutely right.
I would love to see that. So no, thank you.
All right. So tell us about your manual and the YouTube channel and how we can connect with you for that.
Okay. So the manual is still in works. I'll follow up with you and send you a link when I get that all said and done.
Great.
The YouTube channel, I'm on YouTube if you look up Miss MISS Ronda Jackson, RONDA Jackson, like Michael, Tito, and Janet, you'll find me. So I'm at Miss Ronda Jackson on Instagram and on YouTube.
Awesome. I look forward to checking that out. And thanks so much for being here with me today.
No, thank you. Thank you. And if anyone needs cleaning or space planning, Decor, you can find us on Instagram and on the web at designsbydecor.com, DESIGNSBYDECOR.com.
Awesome. Thanks so
Thank
much. And we'll
You're
see you
welcome,
next
Liz.
time on Business Unusual.
Thank you.